Hello, happy Tuesday. It's Del Requisite. We're here. We're 30 minutes late. It's fine. Sometimes OBS decides that your day is going to be complicated, and it makes you redo all of your stream settings, and then you have to bother the owner of the channel on not his night to have to stream to send you a stream key, and then you stream at 7:35 instead of 7 p.m. But here we are. Happy Tuesday. We're here with the Fool's Errand tonight. They are this way.
People are angry.
Over here. The public demands justice. You can send all of your angry letters to Stephen OBS.
Send them to me. We can have this discussion.
No, send them to Stephen the guard in Navaria.
Yeah, Craig.
I mean, they're already sending their hate mail to Jason, so they might.
That's true.
Oh man,
just don't send it to Scooter.
I enjoy your
anger. He's a
sensitive
weasel.
He's done nothing. He's done nothing
okay.
wrong. Yeah, you can send all of your complaints to Stephen OBS and Craig Twitch. Complain to them. Everything is busted. Boy, I sure get the impression
everything is broken.
Oh, good. Okay, I was like, boy, I sure get the impression that also nobody can hear the players in Discord, but that does not appear to be the case. So, before we get into our recap, let's take a quick moment and thank our sponsors, Cardboard Castle and Little Dragon Corp. If you type !CGC or !Little Dragon in the chat at any point during tonight's stream, you will get a link to. There they go. Each of their websites where you can check out all of the fine dice and tabletop gaming goods that your heart could desire to support the businesses that support us. So if you are in the need for perhaps a new set of dice, you can check out Little Dragon Corp. You can use our code PROBONUS at checkout for a 10% discount off of anything that you buy. Again, that is PROBONUS at checkout with Little Dragon Corp. PROBONUS. I hear you're supposed to say it 3 times, so that's what I did. And Little Dragon Corp. All right, Jason's memeing with Cardboard Castle is a brick and mortar game store, but they do have an online presence as well, an online shop that you can purchase things from them. They always support the channel with sweet giveaways that we can do during our special streams, and we appreciate them helping us out. So please give them a look when you get a chance. We would appreciate it, and I'm sure they would too. So we return to the Fool's Errand. They are kind of in the center of the continent of Orahol here. They are in the northern kingdom of Voland, having passed through the pass in the Ujir Mountains to traverse through the Dwarves territory that separates the Kingdom of Mithlande from the free city-states of Voland. They are currently in a small town by the name of Diamond Vale, which is for all intents and purposes, it's a company town owned, constructed, and operated by the Moxham Trading and Mercantile Company. It is Walter Gray's home. So the party arrived intending only to kind of stop in and pay a visit on their way further north on an assignment that they picked up from the Ordinum Libri, only to discover that there was a bit of a crisis in the town of Diamond Vale by way of a flooded mine shaft that had trapped a handful of the town's residents and miners on the far side of a quite lengthy section of flooded mine shaft. The townspeople themselves were frantically attempting to dig a side tunnel or divert the water to reach the miners before they basically ran out of food, water, or air, depending on where they had been trapped. But the prospects had been looking grim until the party came along, and along with some planning by the town's hedge wizard Henrik, they came up with a plan to go and seek assistance from a a local hermit woman who lived some way outside of town. Woman known in town folklore only as Granny Josephine. The party went out to visit this granny out at her hut in the woods, to implore her to make for them potions of water breathing. She told them that she could do so, but she was going to require a very specific component to craft the potions. She needed a fairly sizable quantity of blood from a creature called a sea naga, or a water naga. She directed them to where one could be found in the nearby foothills of the Ujir Mountains, and basically handed them a pair of buckets, patted them on the back, and sent them on their way. She instructed them not to allow the Naga to influence their minds with its voice, as she stated to them, and gave them some beeswax to stuff in their ears. And with plugged ears, the group did almost make short work of the Naga, only to realize, with some quick thinking, that something was perhaps not quite right. They risked conversing with the Naga, only to discover that it was sentient, and not necessarily as hostile to them as they would have originally thought. It apparently knew of Granny Josephine and told them that the old woman had been attempting to get at some sort of a treasure or a charge that it had been guarding for a very long time in the bottom of a sort of a lake that it was in its lair, and that she had likely sent them to dispatch of it so that she could get access to what it had been guarding. The party cut a deal. They took the required blood from the Naga without killing it, in exchange for not telling Granny Josephine that it was still alive. Its intention then to lay in wait and attack her when she came to come and raid its lair, thinking it now slain. The party went back to Granny Josephine, held up their end of the bargain, and had their potions of water breathing crafted. They took those potions back, and Alar went into the mine shaft with the help of his transformed Scooter, the Celestial Cephalopod. There it is, Scooter. And was able to distribute the water breathing potions that they had crafted to the miners, and through a nerve-wracking journey through the dark, flooded mine shafts to get back out within the time limit of their water-breathing potions. There's Morgan. They did successfully recover all of the trapped miners and return them to the townspeople. We concluded last time's session with essentially the town throwing a something of an impromptu celebration, an impromptu festival, in which the heroes or the party were treated like heroes among the town. They were given a whole bunch of basically Moxham Company script that they now have in their possession that can be used as money in either other towns like this one where Moxham runs things, or with trading outposts run by Moxham throughout the continent. So we will stall a little more, because when we return, we're going to return to the home of Walter Gray, where the group of you, along with Walter and his family, have returned after a day of time spent in the town and reveling. And boy, it sure is awkward to return to a guy's house with his NPC families when he's just got a stuffed bird in his chair on stream.
Great.
Hey!
Oh, sorry.
I'm back.
Okay, so you guys are in Walter's house. It is early evening yet. The town is still bustling, kind of out and about. There's still plenty of people celebrating the safe return of the trapped miners. You know that there is still quite the affair going on down at the local tavern. But you guys are currently in Walter's house. Walter's wife Ruby is there, as are his 3 children. The eldest, Elliot, who you had met helping with the efforts to rescue the miners, being about 16, with just the beginning hint of the family mustache coming in. Jade, who is 12 and has taken a particular shine to Osrius, and Walter Jr., who has mostly kept either to his mother's side or near one of his siblings, and still perhaps a little bit cautious of you guys as strangers. The group of you are here. Very likely some sort of a meal is being prepared, and you are casually sitting around in Walter's house with his family. What do you do?
Elliot, thank you. Excellent job today, keeping everybody organized down in the mine.
He kind of he nods a little bit. He sort of waves it off, and he says, "I was just there helping. I didn't do anything but pitch in with the old shovel. It was really the overseer that was in charge of everything." But he nods. He says, "Thanks all the same."
All right. On that note, I do believe Jade has hidden a little secret for everybody, assuming she hasn't broken into it.
You see that she gives you sort of an indignant look, and she says, "I would never. You told me not to look, and I didn't." And she goes, gets up and runs off into the other room and brings back the parcel that Walter had given to her. You guys can make an insight check if you'd like.
Insight check is not on Facebook. That is not where it is.
12.
21.
Okay.
Of course. 14.
Uh, 16.
So Alar and Walter, as she brings this parcel back, you see that it definitely looks like she undid the twine a little bit and maybe looked inside, but she quickly she brings it back and she sets it down and says, "There you go."
I'm just gonna give her the dad stare for a couple seconds, just a couple seconds longer than I probably should. Just
she looks at you entirely unabashed.
Yeah, that tracks.
She's like, "As long as I don't admit it, he's got nothing on me."
just shoot a glance to Ruby, just give her a nod.
She shakes her head, and you sort of the rest of you kind of see this silent communication, that can only really exist within a family, sort of pass between Walter and his daughter, and then sort of the look that he and Ruby give each other sort of speaks volumes to he sort of looks to her to and she kind of looks back to him clearly she's your daughter, she didn't get that from me.
Yeah. Yeah, so I will break out the gifts that I got for the little ones, and also for Ruby, which unfortunately those notes are on an entirely different computer. I believe they were little animated dolls, Spider or something like that for the boys, something like that. like little enchanted dolls.
Yeah, so if we go to the
I
items
think it was
from-
also like costume jewelry for the doll.
Yeah, I gave her that early because I knew she was gonna like break into everything else anyway.
Okay, so the
disperse the presents.
you did give they were animated pets that you bought for 5 gold each at
Yes.
The
Come on.
The spectacular enchantments at Rattlesnap's Sanctum, or Sears. The animated pets that you had bought, you got 1 each for Walter Jr. And for Elliot. Walter Jr. Takes his immediately. If I remember correctly, it was a spider and a toy soldier, respectively.
I think so. Yes.
Walter Jr. takes his, and he immediately sets it down, and the enchantment upon it animates it. Which one did you give him, the spider or the soldier?
Probably the spider.
Okay. Yeah, so he sets it down, and it immediately begins animating, and it sort of skitters back and forth across the table. It goes over the edge of the table and then vertical down the table leg onto the floor, and he delightedly chases after it, and it only goes for about a foot or two before the enchantment stops, and he basically keeps just picking it up and setting it back down again, and it continues to skitter. So he very quickly loses all interest in the rest of what's going on, as he goes off to just sort of a different part of the house, chasing his toy spider around. Elliot takes his, and he sort of sets his down, and he watches as it marches about faces, marches a couple of inches in either direction. It takes its little toy saber out of its scabbard, does like a kind of a fanciful whirling maneuver with it, and puts it back. And he grins at it a little bit, but he once he's sort of seen it the first time, he kind of lets it be on the table. You get the sense, Walter, that he's got something on his mind, though he's not doesn't seem to be ready to talk about it just yet.
Gotcha. All right, I'll let the evening commence a little bit before I bother him about it.
What did you get? What did you get for Ruby?
I am pretty sure I got her a magical vacuum. I'm 90% certain that we got.
Oh yeah, the
Broomba?
enchanted broom.
The
It was a
Broomba.
Broomba. Okay, it was the Broomba.
I
I couldn't remember if it was a Broomba or a slap chop.
I think we got both. Actually, I'm pretty sure.
you got the slap chop.
Yeah, you got
Pretty
both.
sure you got the slap chop.
I'm pretty sure we got. We definitely got the slap chop, but I'm pretty sure we got both.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I gave you sufficient coin to get
Yeah.
both.
All right. Yeah. So there is a sufficient period of messing around with these. The sort of the Broomba is set up, and immediately begins going about just quietly sweeping little piles of dust and grit out of corners and things, and sweeping them towards the door. It definitely gets stuck on chairs and furniture corners a few times, and has to be readjusted until it sort of seems to get the feel for the room. And the slap shop is sufficiently played with. Just with he's like, oh man, I can chop so many vegetables so fast with this.
You guys want parsnips? We got parsnips. You got root vegetables of all kinds. Maybe cabbage.
Jesus.
After as the slap chop is being played with, and the Walter's probably off to one side of the room trying to figure out why the Broomba keeps getting stuck. And just he refuses to read the instructions. As he's sort of like distracted with that, Osrius, you feel sort of like a tug on like your belt loop.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
you turn and you see Jade is standing there, and she's like looking. She sees that like her parents are currently distracted by trying to fix the Broomba, and she like holds her hand up towards you and like opens the palm quickly, and like you see the acorn that you gave her earlier in her palm.
Yeah.
She like closes it and kind of like tucks her hand away again, and she gives like a conspiratorial like shifty eyes around and like nods her head towards the door, implicitly asking like, hey, you want to come plant the seed with me?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. This big dude going through the house just trying to sneak out the door. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna notice him, man. Like, I'm gonna give her like the look, man. Like, yeah, let's go.
So she quickly
I'm
like
gonna
go ahead.
see that and realize that like Walter and his wife are just messing around with a slap chop, and I'm like, oh, it's got to be more interesting than this. I will follow him as well.
Okay. I give Braum the look and being like, come on, let's go. Aylar can stay here. Let's go.
Yeah, Aylar, he's watching the family go around. He's got kind of a blank expression.
Please don't murder my family when I'm not paying attention.
No, not that kind of blank expression. Just his thoughts are turned inward.
Okay. All right. So, Jade,
You're right, this is not what we-
Osrius, and Braum, you guys head outside into the backyard of the small house that is the residence of the Gray family. Jade kind of looks around and she kind of holds up the acorn to you see Osrius. She says, so I'm supposed to do I put it in the ground?
Yeah. So what we're gonna do? It's just like, okay, what we're gonna do, little one, is like you're gonna put your hands in the dirt, okay? And I'm gonna make sure that's gonna like probably stick like half my hands like easily enough in the dirt.
Sure.
And like pull apart like a hole there. I was like, this is what you're gonna do. So you just put your hands deep down in here, you pull apart a little bit of a hole, and you're gonna drop that right in there.
She looks at you for a moment and she goes, Mr. Osrius?
Yes.
She goes, you met my dad, right?
Yes.
She's like, did you think I don't know how to dig a hole?
Well, honestly,
she like breaks into a grin.
I'm gonna tell you.
Others, these great kids probably come out of the womb with a shovel.
Well, with the way that their father acts, who knew what these children know and don't
Mrs.
know?
Gray, okay, the shovel's coming first.
It's like I didn't want to talk bad about her father right in front of her.
I do,
but
that's the only reason I'm here.
That's like in Diamond Vale, instead of like when you have like complications at birth, instead of like the umbilical cord being wrapped around the neck, it's like the shovel handle gets like
Yeah.
It depends on the family. Some of them have mining picks.
Ooh.
God. Praying for their family.
Okay, so she kind of like digs her hole. She goes, what's gonna grow out of it?
A good question.
That's what Braun put. That's a great question. All I can tell you is that there's some magic that involves in this. Just all you need is a little bit of faith.
She goes, oh, okay.
I know that it is a magic acorn, but it did just sound like you were straight up lying to that child.
She pops the acorn into the ground, quickly just shuffles the dirt back over it, and she looks at the sort of like the small lump that she's made. She's like, nothing happened.
It might take a little bit now.
Should we water it?
Sure. Is there some water around here? Like that I'm noticing, like
you guys
pail,
probably have,
maybe
you guys
a
have
bucket
water
of water.
skins. You got a water skin?
No, yeah.
Probably have a
I'll
water
take
skin.
out a
Yeah,
water
sure.
skin.
Okay.
Pour it on the thing.
Brown
you
water.
You pour a little bit of water on the onto the patch of loose soil, and after a moment, you see the soil kind of like shifts and settles. The water seeps into it, and then there's like a little bit of a like disturbance.
I'm gonna take a step back
in the dirt. As you do that, like Jade looks at you, and she like also then takes a step back.
I'm not noticing anything. I'm just standing right there. I don't
There
care.
is there's a slight like shift to the soil, and a singular like cotyledon comes out, a little primordial leaf of a shoot, a little sprout comes out of the ground. And Jay goes, "Oh, wow, look, it really grew super fast. That's a full 70-foot tall birch tree shoots out of the ground, fully dwarfing Walter's house by like several stories. The diameter of the tree, it's about a foot around. It has a sort of flaky paper white bark on the trunk, and it bursts into like full leaf in a matter of maybe 10 seconds. It feels, to you guys and to you who are still in the house, it feels like a small earthquake has just occurred, as like this tree just grows to this massive, fully formed height. And Osrius, you said you were like standing on top of it, right?
Well, I'm standing still near it.
You're still near it.
Everybody else, yeah, just near
You
it.
probably get like whacked by a branch as it's like forming on the way up, like smacks you in the face. But you find yourself standing beneath this huge tree. It's far and away like the biggest tree anywhere in like the area of this town. It is now like a prominent landmark of Diamond Vale instantaneously. It's the tallest thing, topographically at least, like at this level. Some of the slopes of the different parts of the town still bring other stuff higher. But yeah, there is a 70-foot birch tree now just in Walter's backyard. Oh, I gotta shift.
I imagine the rumbling would alert Walter to like running to the back along with Ruby and the children.
Yeah. So like you guys are inside like messing with the Broomba, and like the house begins to shake.
As soon as I get out and I see like the tree, I just
Hey Walter, you like shade?
Jade.
This time she looks properly mortified, like, oh no, I'm in so much trouble. She's got this like horrified look on her face, like, what have I done?
Wow.
Oh, you messed up.
You're right. That is a big tree.
I'm just gonna hear say, "Oh, you messed up."
You messed up.
Bro, my hands with an empty water skin is like, yeah, kid, that was really immature.
He's like, man, Walter, you really need to control your children.
I'm just gonna like get down to her eye level and just be like, "Did you learn your lesson?"
don't take acorns from the big man.
Don't take things from strangers and just assume they'll do whatever, because
Oh, come on, Walter. She's fine.
Walter, in Jade's defense, I didn't think it was going to do that either.
True, in
That's-
all honesty.
yeah.
Look. It was not.
I just
it's-
remembered
look, it's-
that Oz ate some of those.
Yeah, the fact that he
It's fine.
is still in one piece is shocking.
Should we be concerned that at some point he might explode?
Well,
He's got a strong constitution, I'm sure.
if I do, then it was a valiant death.
No,
I'm
more
not
likely
sitting
he's
next to
going
him
to
in the
crap
cart anymore.
firewood at some point.
Maybe then we'll all be warm. But
I'm not sure I would want to light that firewood for a while,
oh, come on.
if at all.
It'll light fast.
But let's be honest, Walter. Jade had no hand in this. I only pushed her towards her curiosity. If anybody needs to be in trouble, it's me. Don't worry about Jade.
Walter, there's definitely potential
He's
here. I mean,
perfectly fine.
you could start selling tickets to come see the magical tree.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and there's
true.
as Brom
Business.
says that, there's like you see some people around the front of the house, like on the outside of your fence, have like come from various other dwellings nearby, and your neighbor's like,
Close your eyes, damn it!
boy, that's a big tree you got there, Walter.
When Brom says that, and when I see them coming off the side, I'm gonna look at Jade and just assume that she's got like dollar signs in her eyes somehow, or whatever the
See?
currency is.
See, it works
Little, like,
out.
line through it, I guess. I don't know.
Walter, you became the shovel and tree guy.
Oh, boy, we're only allowed to have one thing in this town.
she sees like the people coming, and even though she is like still a little bit abashed, you hear she says, "Oh man, we are gonna have the best treehouse in the whole town."
You know what? You bet you will.
She's like, "We're gonna be so cool."
While nobody is looking, Brom will have spoken the word to his magical robes, and is now in carnival barker clothes. So he's like, come see the Grey's magical giant goddamn tree. Come see it. It's 2 gold.
Jade, just promise me that if any seeds fall off of this tree, you do not immediately plant them somewhere.
She nods, and you definitely get the impression that she's learned her lesson after this first one. She's not going to plant mystery seeds a second time.
You can plant one outside the town to make sure it doesn't do the exact same thing. What you do after that is up to you. I will trust you to not make your mother very upset with us.
And you see Ruby is just like, this enormous tree that's now in her yard.
It'll keep you cool in the summer.
She goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to move the vegetable garden."
I'm sorry.
I'm sure Junior will be
I'm
happy
sorry.
to help dig new holes.
Dude, look at that, more holes to dig.
Yeah, if it's one thing the Greys are good at.
Digging
Shoveling.
holes.
Poop in their pants.
We just dig ourselves in all kind of holes.
So the tree is marveled over for some time. Eventually, you all are kind of head back inside.
I'll probably head to Elliot and see if he's doing okay.
Okay, yeah. So you kind of you head over towards him, and the two of you take a little bit of a walk. You leave the other three behind at your house with your new forestry exhibit, and you just sort of begin to kind of idly walk down the street, and you can still kind of tell, you know if something is on his mind. He seems to have been thinking about for some time now, and it still takes him a couple of minutes before he speaks up, and he says, cousin Roland took me to Mine 1 a while ago. You weren't here, and it was time for me to go. And he says, I saw some of the stuff that's in there. He says, Roland said that this is what our family has been doing for generations in this town. He says nobody else knows about those things that get in there. And he says that they come from something in the old cemetery that connects with Mine 1. But he said that even that is... He said that's a secret that even our family doesn't know about. We just make sure they don't get out of Mine 1. He kind of looks at you and he says, You did this for all those years?
It's easier if you think of it as putting them to rest, back to rest.
He nods and he says, no, I understand that. I don't have a problem doing it. I know it's tradition, and I don't want to be the one to break that. It's just I was thinking a lot about this. And he says, Mom doesn't like to talk very much about this contract that you have with the company that keeps you away from here and has you doing all this secret stuff for Moxham. He says, but he says, you know what's in the old graveyard, don't you? He says, something happened and you found out, didn't you? And that's why Moxham forced you to take that contract. And he phrases all of this as a question, but you get the sense that he seems like he feels like he's already figured it out, and he's kind of just looking for your confirmation.
I'm going to put my hand on his shoulder, and just grip it hard. Well, as hard as I can really, really to drive home the point that when I say then I will tell him this is not something you should ever bring up.
He looks a little confused, and he says I haven't said anything to anybody. I kept it to myself until I could talk to you about it.
I'll probably relax my grip and say okay.
He seems to have taken that as confirmation that he was right. And he says, if you don't do what he wants, or if something happens to you, the contract transfers to us, doesn't it? Mom and me. Maybe Jade. He says maybe Walter Jr.
I'm doing what I can to make sure that doesn't happen.
He nods and he says, okay. He says, then I'll make sure I do the grain name proud here in town until
I'm just gonna cut him off and just say, just live your just live.
He smiles a little bit, and you guys see that, like, sort of subconsciously, you guys are standing in front of the sealed off entrance to mine 1. And he looks and he says, I am. He says, I've never been anywhere besides here, but I like it here. He says, and I feel proud that I can carry on the tradition that our family has upheld since the town was founded here. He says, there's a thorn girl in town that I fancy a little bit, and says, in a couple of more years, once I've earned enough from the mine to build a house of my own, maybe I'll ask for her hand. And he just kind of looks at you, and you are reminded suddenly that this contract that you were forced into via Moxham has taken you away from this place for the last several years, and it all sort of rushes to you at once. You sort of realize that when you first were forced to leave and to begin traveling, Elliot was just a kid with no more concerns than any other kid living in a mining town, and in the blink of an eye, he is on the verge of becoming his own man. And you kind of realize more than anything that this conversation of his, these questions, this talk, is his way of trying to catch up on all of the things that he hasn't gotten the chance to talk to you about, and to ask you for your opinion and your advice, and to seek your approval on. And you get the sense that he just wants to make his father proud.
It'll be an off-screen thing, but it sounds like a nice fadeaway conversation.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, I'll probably definitely absolutely spend as much time with him as is possible.
Great.
So
then while Walter and his eldest son are out on their own, that leaves the three of you back with the remainder of Walter's family at his house. What if anything are you guys doing? either there or if you wanted to go elsewhere in the town or anything like that.
I think Alar would exchange some brief pleasantries, but he'd probably leave the house. He'd head to that tavern.
Okay. And what have you guys? Anything?
What do you want to do, Brom? What do you say?
Nothing specific I have to do.
Yeah.
Is there like a tavern in this town, Walter?
Because it's the same one Alar's going
Walter's
to.
not here, but Ruby tells you that there is a tavern in the house. She kind of directs you back down sort of the main street here, thoroughfare that you guys followed to get up to where Walter's house is, off from like that main road that leads through the center of the town. And she tells you that it's just off on like the east side of the road, and that central road in the middle of the town. It doesn't have a. She's just like, it's just the tavern. She's like, it doesn't have a name. It's just the building in town where all of the alcohol is.
Doesn't have a name. It's just the place.
She's like, you'll see it because it's big and we'll have a lot of people in it who are drinking. That's the tavern.
And you can smell the alcohol from about 3 blocks away.
I assume there's not really anything else to do. This town.
Unless you've ever been to town before.
She considers. Yeah, she considers. She says. Well, if you're.
This is a one shovel town, huh?
If you're particularly interested in the art of wagon making, you could go to the Wainwright.
Oh my God! Okay, stay me to the tavern.
She sort of smiles. She says, "Otherwise, no."
Take me to the goddamn tavern.
All right,
Alar, lead the way, buddy.
He's already good.
Left him.
He's
down
gone.
the road.
as soon as I go to leave, I'll lean over to him and be like, "This is definitely going to be like a sad minor bar, right? This is going to be a depressing environment to be in."
Probably. More than likely.
Right. Good.
Before I leave, though, I'm going to find the little one there and be like, Don't go and getting into trouble now. I gave you an acorn. And now what do we do when strangers give you things?
She goes,
I'll answer that for you. Ask questions.
as when you go, what do we do when strangers give us things? She like kicks you in the shin. That doesn't particularly hurt because she is like a small girl and you're an enormous Goliath.
I'm gonna laugh and be like, "Yeah, that's fair. It's fair." I'm gonna also be like, you know what? When you grow up, you come find me. I might have work for you.
This is how you can tell Matt and I are brothers, because literally as he said that, Brom was literally about to be like, "You kick him in the shin."
I'm gonna tell her though, it's like, you know what? When you grow up a little, you come and find me. And I'll find something for you to do. Just don't tell your father, Walter. I don't think he'll mind, but don't tell him. You'll be fine.
She says, "Okay." Alar, as you have a little bit of a head start, you head and you find that tavern. It's not difficult to find. The town is not very big. It is back to that main road. By a long shot, it's the largest building in that little strip there. There are lamps lit inside, and it is still quite full of people as the town is still celebrating. You slip in. You're able to kind of enter mostly unnoticed, as you are. You're kind of able to keep a lower profile. You don't necessarily stick out too much. You can see it looks like a couple of the miners who you guys rescued earlier today are over sort of by the by the bar off to one side of the room, there is a gaggle of people crowded around them. It seems like one of them is in the middle of like what is for very likely the umpteenth time is like recounting the harrowing tale of their time down in the mine to folks who are gathered around listening. People seem to in no short supply being supplying them with drinks. You are you just kind of heading up to the bar? Are you doing anything in particular here, or just
at the
kind of trying to
moment,
keep to yourself?
Yeah, he's gonna try to keep to himself at least at first. So he'll throw some of the script down that he was given and ask for just what's on tap.
Okay. So you sit down. There's off to the other side of the opposite side of the bar from where the two miners are like recounting their story. There is there's an old like high back upright piano that somebody is sitting at, kind of playing a sort of a jaunty tavern saloon song, filling the air with a little bit of music. You sit down. The bartender, tavern keep, strides up to you. He is a kind of a stocky looking individual, and he has a white linen shirt with like a heavy smock over it. You see he's got the sleeves of his shirt kind of rolled up to the elbows. They're quite neat and quite clean, though his smock is kind of like smeared with various stains of different things, whatever he's cooking in the kitchen, likely. Comes up, you tap a couple of that company script down on the bar, and he nods, turns over. He goes to a large keg, a barrel that is set into the wall that had a tap put into it, and he fills a mug with a pretty like a fairly like deep dark amber, almost to the point of being like black in color, ale into it, and he sets it down in front of you. And as he does, he puts his two fingers on the couple of pieces of script that you had put down, and he like pushes them back over to you, and he says, I recognize your face from earlier. He says, your money's no good here. You drink free.
Fair enough. And Alar will set some more script down. But they don't. And he points to the other group. Don't tell them who dropped the money either.
He kind of looks at you for a minute, slides it off the counter. He says, "You got it, pal."
Thank you.
And he goes away to serve other patrons. Anything else you were doing besides just kind of nursing your ale at the moment?
Not presently. He's he came here to drink a little bit and get away from that house.
Okay. Osrius and Brahm, you guys approach the tavern. Same thing, big building, double doors closed, bright, merry lamplight coming from within from all the oil lamps and things lit inside there. You can hear the kind of like piano coming from inside. There's a few people out on the it's got like a wraparound porch basically attached to the front of it. A few people kind of standing and leaning against out there. As the two of you approach, several of them like raise their glasses in your direction. As you would imagine, you guys are easily recognizable in a crowd, being the only Goliath and one of a very, very few number of half-orcs in the town. So you immediately get like a few kind of cheerses, but you approach the bar. What do you do?
I am going to dramatically fling open both doors.
Yeah, you are.
And enter the tavern with a "What's up, Diamond Vale?"
So, Alar, you are at the tavern. You get served your ale. You pick it up. You take a sip. It's extremely potent. You notice that immediately. and it has sort of a almost like a metallic bite to it. And as you sort of set your mug down, you hear the doors are like banged open. The piano like comes to a stop. Everybody in the tavern like turns as Brahm like kicks in the door. Osrius, his figure is like looming just outside the doorway, except you can't see his head because it's above the door frame, so you just see like up to Osrius' neck. And then Brahm throws up the horns and yells, "What's up, Diamondvale?" There's like 2 beats of silence. And then everybody in the bar is like, "Yeah!" Everybody like bursts into a cheer and an applause, and people begin to like go over to Brahm and like begin to like clap him on the back and stuff. The piano begins to play again.
Alar, this is exactly what Alar does.
You guys see Alar is in the corner.
Hey, buddy. That's our dude Alar over there.
Slams his drink. Osrius, you have to like kind of duck your head under the doorway to get in.
That's what to say. Do I fit in here?
You fit. Once you're inside, you can stand up straight, but the door frame itself is about 1.5 feet too short for you.
Okay.
It's only about like what do you? It's like a 6 foot door frame, and you're at least.
I'm 7 foot.
I was like, you're close to 7 feet, right? Yeah. So you have to you have to duck in. But once you're inside, this
6 feet. 6 feet. Even Brahm had to duck into the door.
Town makes him short.
Yeah, they're mostly humans here, and they're not massively large.
It's from the black lung. Stunted growth.
They're all sickly here. So yeah, you guys bust in, and immediately drinks are thrust into your hands. Somebody finds what you don't know how they did it this fast, but it definitely looks like they got like a bucket from like a nearby well, and like attached a handle to it, and then like filled that full of ale and gave that to Osrius. You get handed like this enormous tankard.
I'm down.
And yeah, so what are you guys up to besides being plied with free drinks and celebrated like champions?
Rom, tell a story. You're always good with stories. Why don't you
Tell a story?
Yeah, tell a story.
Do better than that. Brahm pulls Bianca from his back and goes, "Diamondvale, you ready to get your faces melted?"
The piano stops as they see you like pull out your instrument. You say, "You ready?" Yes, you yell, "You're ready to get your faces melted." Everybody kind of like pauses again, and one brave soul is like, "Is that a magic that you do? Because we don't want any trouble."
Alar will finally speak up from where he was. It's fine. He's going to give us a bardic tale like no other.
And it's going to melt our faces? I don't...
It's an expression. It's an expression. Nobody's faces will be melted off.
Yeah, no faces will be melted in the course of this performance.
Thank God.
Okay. All right. Let's see. What's a good story here? I'm gonna need some help from the audience. I'm gonna need a place. Somebody give me a place.
Diamondvale.
Somebody give me a place. It doesn't suck.
Novaria.
What did I just say?
When you turn down Diamondvale and ask for a different place, there's like a definite moment of like you've stumped the band as they're like, "Oh, we don't know other places." Somebody does eventually go, Nistrin, which you know is the capital city of Volant.
Okay. All right, Nistrin. Cool.
5, 6, 7, 8.
I'm pretty sure we killed a lot of people there.
Nistrin. There's a song I like to call called Nistrin.
Yeah. Okay.
Nistrin! You are the capital of the land! Nistrin!
Alar just,
We have a pond!
Make a performance check.
I should have had some sort of a plan going into this.
Yeah, maybe.
Performance check.
I really hope it's a natural 20.
19.
19. You after you kind of kick into your song a little bit, a few refrains in, a few bars in, the piano player kind of picks up the tune and accompanies you a little bit, and the tavern begins to like jam along to your song, and as you sort of compose this song on the fly, as any good bard, you make your chorus simple, easy to remember, and by like the second or third one, basically the whole bar joins you on like, Nistrin, probably have a pond, Nistrin. You hear somebody's like, boy, the words to this seem kind of stupid, but damn it, this is very catchy.
Okay, all right, Diamond Vale. I almost said Norindon Vale. Diamond Vale. This is the part of the song that gets a little more audience participatory. All right, when I say diamond, you say Vale. Diamond.
Vale.
Not a trick question. Let's try it one more time.
Alar's on his third.
I don't know, Rob. Maybe you need to back it up a little. I think.
Okay, so how many of you know that creepy pond just outside of town? Everybody knows that?
Sort of a murmur of like, we don't go. You should.
Yeah, don't go to that pond. There's a gentleman who lives there who I can only describe as the worst. So don't go there.
There's a person that lives in that pond. We don't know who they are, but it's a person. There's a person. It's somebody that lives in that pond. Maybe just don't go to the pond. Also, maybe just don't go to the shack with the old woman. Just stay away from that. You might just want to stay away from that shack.
There's a murmur of recognition as you talk about the shack containing where Granny Josephine lives. People know of her in the town, and there's definitely this murmur of like, oh man, like this is definitely like a matter of local folklore. And you hear one person says, well, me dad told me once that his sister, when she was just a wee small girl, got a terrible fever, something fierce, and they thought she would die. They went up to Granny Josephine, and she fixed them up a tincture that set her right, saved her life, probably. Oh, but she was a right weird one. My pa says his mum and dad never would tell him what the granny asked for in return, but he said my granddad was never quite right again after that, from what I heard tell. And other people sort of like chime in similarly with like, most of it is not first-hand accounts. A lot of it is like, oh yeah, my dad told me this story about, this other relative, or I heard from this neighbor, this thing. All these like stories of like ways in which over the years and the generations, people all seem to have some sort of a story about somebody that got in a dire enough situation where they had no other recourse and like went and sought Granny Josephine for some sort of magic or medicine or something like that. And the stories more or less all end the same in that, like, it seems that Granny did, like, help them in the end. But they all have very, like, convoluted stories about, like, the things that were asked in terms of payment. And you again, you get that just general vibe from the town that, like, she is well known by everybody to be an entity, a figure that has just always lived out there, and that's where she is, and she's just Granny Josephine, and she can help you in a pinch, but, like, the cost is perhaps something you might be dubious about thinking it's worth it in the end for having to pay it.
Oof. Well, that was going to be my question, being like, well, everybody seems to have the same kind of instance with this Granny Josephine, but, like, having, like, it's, like, good, but also, like, weirdly bad.
Yeah.
Well, this is, like, well, that's, like, happened and, like, kind of, like, gets people murmuring it a little bit. Is there, like, any talk of, like, anything else possibly happening in Diamond Vale here? Like, outside of, like, maybe, like, some other stories or, like, mishaps around Diamond Vale that somebody can't account for?
Make an investigation check as you kind of are, like, trying to eavesdrop on people and listening.
Yeah.
That.
I'm curious now because it just seems weird.
All right, Diamond Vale, I'm gonna leave you with
use
one
my
more
bardic
song, and then I'm gonna get out of here.
I'm gonna use my bardic.
This song goes out to a special friends of ours, the Greys. Let's give it up for the Greys.
And you see, like, about half a dozen people in the bar, kind of like, hey, like, we're the Greys. They, like, raise their hands, and everybody else sort of, like, gives a sort of a cheer and an applaud towards them.
This song is a little number I like to call Shovels of the Heart. Parentheses, I can't dig my way out of this. Here it is.
So as Braun begins to strike up another number, what was your investigation there, Oz?
It is going to be 16.
16. Okay. So what you hear tell there's definitely some nervousness. Everybody's very relieved that all of the miners were recovered and nobody was killed or too badly injured. The one who had broken his leg seems like he's likely to make a full recovery. So the relief is definitely palpable, but there's definitely some concern that the time they lost, where basically the entire mining operation shut down and like redirected to this rescue effort, has put a lot of their like exports backed up. So like the distribution depot that you guys passed on when you came in has been shut down. They're going to be behind on their quotas. There is definitely some concern among the townsfolk of like what sort of repercussions may come from like not being able to make quota once the end of the month rolls around. And you do a little bit of kind of eavesdropping, maybe asking a pointed question or two here or there, and sort of what you glean isn't necessarily anything that points you towards like Granny Josephine necessarily. Sort of there's still chatter of that happening that you kind of hear, but you don't get anything new besides like this person, if all of these stories are to be believed, like this individual has been like an old lady that lives in the woods since like most of these people's like grandfathers and great grandfathers were children. Like she's clearly some sort of a very, very old individual. and like something is off about her. But the sort of the bits that you glean from like general eavesdropping and stuff like that is that there is also an aura of sort of mystery and maybe a little bit of like fear around the company itself, around Moxham Trading and Mercantile, and specifically around its founder and its owner, Zavaran Moxham. Most of what you hear is basically, you know, people kind of talking about like I don't know, it's you know, the sanctions that they're going to put on us are probably going to make things tough if we don't make quota here. And you know, there's some rumors of like, you can I hear one person declaring, sort of an older gentleman declares that like when he was younger, he remembers a month where they came perilously short of their quota for a month, and he claims that Zavaran Moxham himself came to the town and had the overseer executed in the street in front of half the town, and a bunch of people immediately decry him as being like full of crap. As you hear like you hear a bunch of people say like, you know full well like nobody has ever met, like, Zavaran Moxham doesn't ever leave his estate. Nobody's ever seen him. He doesn't come out. Like, that's baloney. He didn't come here. That didn't happen. You're making that up. And so you hear there are like some equally weird rumors in this town surrounding Zavaran Moxham, similar in the way that like they are with Granny Josephine, is in the sense that like they are odd enough that like it's very difficult to tell the details of like what might be true, what might be exaggeration, and what has become like utterly distorted via like telling and retelling and local folklore that have elevated Moxham to this like almost weird mythological status.
Okay.
But that is what you learn.
Walter. All right. And that's a question for Walter, if he ever finds himself around here.
Walter hasn't been to that tavern in 15 years.
All right. Well, it doesn't matter. You still might know the story. So, anyway, what is Brom doing right now? Brom,
Still finishing up the song.
Still finishing up the song?
It's only been a few minutes.
Yeah, Brom finishes the song. Unless you have a song prepared. If you want to delight us to another Nistrin probably has a pond or whatever it was.
It's not easy to rhyme things with Nistrand.
Well,
okay?
technically it was Valon that you rhymed with, but
yeah, that's why I had to use Valon.
Okay.
It's avant-garde, you wouldn't understand.
You finish up your song.
Called art.
The tavern appreciates the performance greatly. You get a bunch more of that company script put in your violin case. I don't know, whatever you like have with you. All right. Well, yeah. So that you've learned some things. Brom did a performance. Alar is quite drunk at this point. Anything else you guys are doing?
No, I think at this point I'll take Brom's lead with whatever he's doing next and just.
Okay. I imagine at some point, once you guys are kind of finished up in here, you'd be heading back to the Gray's residence, as it does start to get late.
Yeah.
You guys leave the tavern, and as you're heading back, Walter, you've been back for some time now. As you're sort of walking your conversation with your son. Didn't take quite as long as the several hours of reveling that was done at the bar by the remainder of the party. So you're at your home. The rest of you guys are heading back towards Walter's house, which is very easy to find now, as you just have to head towards the gigantic tree that marks its location. So even in the dark, you don't have a difficult time finding it.
The drinking tree.
I'm gonna need a tree drawn into that map.
Yeah, I'll add a tree.
Yeah, just a big circle that says giant fuck off tree.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I can draw in OBS.
You're just gonna MS Paint overlay it.
I was gonna MS Paint with OBS like tree. I don't think I can do it though. Okay, so as you guys head back, you're approaching up to Walter's house, about to head in. You can see there's still some lights on. It seems like the Greys are still awake at this hour. You see two other people approaching from further, like, up in elevation towards the upper rises of the other parts of the town. As you guys like approach and mutually walk into the light of the windows, the lamps cast out of Walter's house, you recognize the town's overseer, Fen Garley, and with him is one of the miners from the mine that you had rescued. Garley sees you guys approaching, and he says, "Oh, Elar, Bram, Osrius, you are, says, by the looks of you coming back from the tavern, I hope that you found Diamond Vale hospitable. The people here, I assure you, are grateful for everything you've done."
Happy to have helped.
He says, "If you don't mind terribly," he gestures to the man with him. He says, "Victor and I had," he says, "well, Victor brought something to my attention, and," he says, "well, frankly, I couldn't think of anyone more suited to bring this information to than yourselves and Walter." He says, "If you don't mind, I'll follow you to the door."
I'm gonna have to sober up for this, aren't I?
He sort of shrugs a little. He says, "Honestly, I don't know. I'm hoping you're the ones who are going to be able to tell me."
Yeah, that's a yes. All right, lead the way.
So you guys approach the front door, and you guys get up there, and there's like an awkward moment where you guys are like, should we do you guys just go in? Do we knock? Do I knock? What? And the door opens, and Ruby is there, and she goes, "You're very loud." She goes, "Why don't you?" And then she looks. She says, "Oh, Fen." She says, "Or is it Mr. Garley? Is this an official visit?" And he says, "For now, no. I hope." He says, "Is Walter in, Ruby?" And she says, "Yes, he's inside with the children." He takes his hat off and like kind of holds it respectfully in front of him. He says, "Would it be a terrible inconvenience if Victor and I came in for a moment? There's something I'd like to discuss with your husband and his companions." And she says, "Of course, come in." She steps aside to allow you guys all to enter into the house. So Walter, you are you're in
I
there.
am dancing lights, playing with the younger kids, and probably like just kind of like sitting on the couch with my older son, I guess.
Sure.
Hopefully, however
Sure.
that bonding process went.
Yeah.
Make a performance check for my fatherly abilities.
Make a I would like you to roll a d20 plus your modifier in dad.
Oh no, is that wisdom or intelligence? It's constitution, isn't it?
It's its own stat.
Oh jeez.
So
-3.
you're in there and you're doing your dancing lights. And you see that Alar, Osrius, and Brom return. But they are accompanied by Overseer Garley and Victor Stavros, one of the miners that you guys pulled out of the mine earlier today. Stavros has been like cleaned up. He's had a shave. He's looking much better than he did when he was filthy and sodden wet pulled out of the mine earlier today. But he does look sort of perturbed. And Garley approaches and he says, Walt, he says, I know it's late, but he says, well, I thought perhaps this was something I should bring to you immediately. He says, it's well beyond my understanding of workings, and he says even Henrik seems to look to the four of you as the most expert in this type of thing currently. So I thought, he says, well,
All right,
I'd
well,
like Victor to tell you something from his time in the mine.
Vic, stage is yours.
He says, hello, dude. No, he doesn't say that.
Vic out of my house.
That's a specific. That's a very specific reference. When you called him Vic, he says, yeah. So, well, before the collapse, he says we was working in the tunnel, and he says, well, I saw this thing, and it didn't look like it belonged in the mine, and I didn't really think anything of it, so I grabbed it up off the ground in one of the shafts, and he says, well, as soon as I touched it, there was this massive crack in the stone that just sprang up from right where this thing was, and that was where the water started coming in from. He says, I got knocked pretty good against the back wall by the force of the water, but I was able to swim my way over to where the others were and get up to safety before everything flooded in. He says, I don't know how I managed it, but I held on to the thing I had picked up, and well, after that I don't know. He says, I kind of thought it might be important, so I kept it. I brought it out with me, and he says, I showed it to Mr. Garley here, and well, he says I should show it to you to see what you guys think about it. And he says, this is the thing I found.
I'm gonna hold out my hand and then cast Mage Hand, and then kind of like float that over to where he's holding the thing out.
You float over this Mage Hand. Yeah, okay. And he takes from inside his pocket, and sets into your Mage Hand. And as he releases it, you see there is a little passel sitting in the Mage Hand, only about the size of a lime. But it is a ratty burlap wrapped bundle of what appears to be entangled twigs and roots and dried herbs and foliage, and there is a rune stitched roughly into the front of it. You recognize this as very similar, and in fact almost identical to a number of these that you saw in Granny Josephine's hut.
The second he recognizes it, I would say an expression of unparalleled anger will arrive on his face, before he kind of like just tamps it back down. It's just like, seems we have to have a conversation with he'll look over at the rest of the group and say, you guys up for a house call?
Should we
Do you
ask
have
the
any
crew?
coffee or tea, Mrs. Gray? I'm really gonna need to be sober for this.
She looks at you and she says, sure.
Thank you.
And she sets about fixing a kettle. And Garland looks at you.
Turn back to Garland and say, thank you for bringing this to our attention.
He says, you recognize it.
It's better you
Yeah.
don't ask any further questions.
It'll get handled.
Make a persuasion check.
Do.
Roll 1.
It's 13.
Better.
He sort of looks at you and he says, Walter, I appreciate that there are things,
Granny
especially
Josephine.
of the arcane, that I don't understand. So as you say, like Granny Josephine, he says, I don't know what that means. He says, I am responsible for this town. Can you elaborate at least enough so that I know what's going on?
This, I'm pretty sure when we got the water potions from her, the water breathing potions, she had some very similar items like this. There's a chance she may be responsible for the collapse.
He looks at the thing in your hand. He says, that caused a mine collapse? He says, it's hardly bigger than my fist.
Aylar's gonna
this.
reach into his coat and pull out the wand of detect magic and activate it. Is there any magic still left on that?
At this point, probably you maybe get like a very faint sort of like almost like the magic residue, but whatever had been like baked into this has expended itself.
Yeah, there's just an echo left, but it was definitely magical.
And he says, "Are you telling me that Granny Josephine snuck into mine too and placed this and caused a collapse?"
If not her specifically, she may have ensorcelled someone to do it.
He kind of nods. Says, "I see."
She may have. I don't know if it's for her amusement or for her interest, but some of these old ones, their reasoning is beyond comprehension, but
he sort of shakes his head. He says, "Why? Only to help us save all of them."
there may be something she wanted nearby that he's gonna like air quotes helped her get.
He kind of clearly is like, he still hasn't was exhausting himself over the last several days, so he still has those like heavy bags under his eyes. He says, he says, I don't understand what possibly would motivate her to do something like this. She says, I know the town has always had stories and been cautious of her, but This, and he gestures to the thing in your mage hand. He says, "This is akin to attacking the town. If your hunch is correct." He kind of shakes his head and he says, "If I dearly wish that being the overseer of this town was as simple a matter of keeping clean books and meeting quotas. I doubt I need to ask based on your reactions, but would you once again take this task on and do what needs to be done to ensure that the granny's not a threat to this town anymore?"
I will deal with this as an arm of Moxum.
He nods and he says, "Very well. I'll include all of this in my quarterly reports. And I will get out of your sitting room and leave you to your evening." He turns...
You can stay a little bit and relax if you need.
He smiles. He says, "I appreciate it, but I don't think I've slept more than 20 minutes at a time in the last week. I should go home."
The idea of my own bed is very tempting. I understand.
And he turns to leave, and Victor moves to go with him, and he goes, "Thanks again, all these guys. Walt."
You got yourself out. You just needed the help.
He says, he sort of shakes his head. He says, "If not for them potions, we would have been good as dead." He says, "I appreciate it. I do." He says, "If ever I can return a favor," he says, "you just ask." And he turns and leaves. And after a brief exchange of goodbyes, two of them head out. Ruby returns. She puts a cast iron kettle onto a heavy wood. It's like a blackened wood ringlet that essentially serves as to keep the hot kettle from burning into the table or anything. Sets that out, places a couple of pewter mugs for you guys to help yourselves to coffee if you want it. And she kind of sits down and she looks and she says, "What's your plan then? Are you going to go tonight, stalking off into the woods to hunt this whatever it is that she is, clearly not an old woman?"
I'm gonna look at the rest of the group and just say I can't let someone risk my family like this.
ALR's gonna pour some of the coffee into the cup. Take a sip. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's strong. Very good. Thank you, Mrs. Gray. We should not fight on her chosen field at night, especially considering not all of us can see well in the dark.
Ruby kind of
Alar's got a point.
Ruby immediately jumps to that point, and says, "It doesn't seem likely that she's going to attack the town or wreak any more havoc tonight. I think you can afford a good night's rest."
In fact, there's entirely a possibility that our waiting might play to our advantage. I'm not saying we just leave it lay. I'm saying let's sleep. Let's some of us sleep off our drink. Let's come at this well rested. Some of us did do a fair bit of swimming. Some of us did a fair bit more.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. I
look. I understand. Believe me. I really, really understand. but we gotta do this smart.
When Aylar says smart, he's gonna have like an idea. Like, do you think she's gonna go to the lake?
I'm
Tomorrow?
hoping that she's going to be eager enough that she may have gone not long after we left, and our friend has had enough time to patch up their wounds. I don't know whether or not they'd be able to do the job themselves, but even if they haven't, I'm willing to bet that she's going to still be a little bit tore up.
A nice morning hike, then.
I can be up at dawn.
True. No problem here.
Alrighty. Then, in that case, let us take a brief break as the party takes a rest over the night before heading out in the morning to go and deal with apparently the treachery of Granny Josephine, who, it seems, for some unknown motivation, was the saboteur behind the mine flooding in the first place, the very one that she helped the party to resolve. So, those of you with us on Twitch, stick around. We'll be back in a couple of minutes for the remainder of tonight's episode, and maybe take the next couple of minutes to check out our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle. You can type !Little Dragon or !Cardboard Castle into the chat to get a link to those websites, and feel free to poke around there while you wait for us to return. We will be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us over our break. We return. The party is in the town of Diamond Vale, staying at the residence of Walter Gray, where they have just discovered that apparently the old hermit lady that lives out in the woods, Granny Josephine, who provided them with potions of water breathing in exchange for slaying a water naga and harvesting its blood, seems to have been potentially the cause behind the mine shaft flood that trapped the miners that necessitated the water breathing potions in the first place. The party has decided to spend the night, rest, recuperate after the day's long activities, and then head out first thing in the morning to go and track down the granny and see if they can't get to the bottom of all of this. So we will return to the action first thing in the morning. You guys rise with the sun, and are able to eat breakfast, prepare yourselves, gather your gear, and are ready to head out. The Walter Jr. and Jade are still asleep, but Ruby and Elliot are both awake and there to see you off when you guys prepare to leave. I don't know if Jason is not talking or if he's muted.
Test.
Oh, there he is.
I can hear you.
I saw
Okay.
your mouth moving, but I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, no, I feel like Walter probably woke up with still a vague sense of anger.
Sure.
So I'm not sure how sociable he would be.
Yeah, I mean, they are your wife and your son are Diamond Valians through and through. You are a people of few words, and nobody is overly affectionate in this town. The habit of sort of not enunciating your goodbyes and sort of letting things remain unspoken but understood is
probably
prevalent here.
be grumpy for half a second and just scruff Elliot's hair before I leave. Just I got this.
He nods. You can tell he's a little concerned. Your wife doesn't exchange any words, but just sort of kind of grabs either side of your head and sort of pulls it down a ways and puts a kiss right on the center of your forehead, and just says good luck, before returning inside to deal with the other children when they get up.
I am going to. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
I so the sellsword that we have been dragging along with us this whole time is probably just going to be still at the house.
She's around.
She's still
somewhere.
She's around somewhere. It's fine. She's in town. We'll find her. No, actually no. I wanted to pointedly tell her this is this is how we deal with things that
How we do it here.
this is how we deal with things that harm the town. Just kind of a vague threat of if you try to fuck around, it's not gonna end well for you.
Aelor is going to pass around one of the potions to each of you since there are 4 left.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
All right,
So,
you each have one
congrats,
water
you
potion.
each have a potion of water breathing.
Hooray.
Alrighty. So where are you headed off to?
Let's reconnoiter her shack, see if she's there.
Okay. Everybody make a quick survival check for me, just to make sure you can kind of navigate back to the place again.
I got a 2.
That's an 11.
Walter forgot where it was.
That's an 8.
Survival check, you said?
Survival.
I do believe Alar has player inspiration.
Oh.
And Brahm has edge proficiency bonus for the Pond Song.
Okay, so
You don't necessarily. I'll tell you, like, it's only a DC 5. I wouldn't start burning things. Two of you have already.
I rolled
succeeded.
a 6. So.
Okay, so 3 of you do succeed, barely.
Actually, it's a 7 with my +1.
Okay, that's fine. It's easy enough. Just kind of retracing your steps. Very low.
Oz has bardic inspiration. It looks like, unless you used that already.
Cool.
Yeah, I already used it. Don't worry.
You guys are able to head back on the path that you had followed yesterday, and the reason for the check is that you do end up having to, like, you sort of backtrack a couple of times. You go like, no, we definitely branched off of this game trail here, and you end up by like the second time you come back to it, you're like, okay, this is definitely the spot. And you find yourself in a clearing where yesterday there was a ramshackle hut partially buried and built into the side of that, like, knocked over tree. Today it is gone. The entire building is no longer present.
Cool. Great.
I'm gonna look at Alar and be like, Lake.
Lake.
Really quickly make an investigation check for you guys, or not an investigation, just a perception rather.
Let's see.
Natural 20.
Very nice.
That would be a 25 rather than the 26 investigation.
You got a measly
18.
Wow. Okay, I got a measly 5.
Okay, so Osrius, you don't necessarily notice this, but the rest of you do see the where that, like, knocked over tree is, with its like root system uprooted, ripped out of the ground at a vertical angle. That's sort of hollow where the hut had been, like, constructed into. You see that is empty. And on the ground, sort of in front of where the the structure to have been, there are several, like, 6-foot long like furrows, as if somebody took, like, a plow almost and, like, raked into the ground. There's, like, 4 of them parallel to each other, have been, like, raked into the ground in front of where the building stood yesterday, and that's all you see. But you head off. You head to the lake. As you guys make the journey, so the time it takes you to get to Granny Josephine's location where her house had been, and then from there on to the lake, you spend about somewhere between 4 and 6 hours of, like, walking. So it's past midday by the time you finally arrive to that same lake again, and you follow that little stream up to where it widens out and opens up, and you see that same rock face with the singular narrow waterfall at the far end. And on the surface of the lake, part of the way out, resting on what appears to be a, like, enormous bed of, like, moss, is Granny Josephine's house. The entire thing is on, like, a raft of moss and is just floating out in the middle of this lake.
Jesus.
How far are we? You know what? It doesn't. I'm going to attempt to point into the lake to cast a message spell at the Naga. It says I can cast the spell through solid objects if you are familiar with the target and know it is beyond the barrier.
What is the range?
120 feet.
Okay.
I'm gonna make an attempt. If it
Sure.
doesn't work, it
Gotcha.
doesn't work. I'm just gonna like try to like ping the Naga and say like, "Are you safe?"
Okay. So you like try and project out that message. You don't get a response.
Ooh. How
Anything?
far?
Hey Oz, you ever sank a house before?
I can certainly try. How far is the house out from the shore there?
About 75 feet from you guys.
From the bank. Does the shack look like it's just like made of like wood and moss, or is
Pretty
it
much.
like kind of like is it like
It's,
wet?
it's sort of an
kind
amalgam. Yeah, it's definitely like damp and
It's damp?
moldery.
Okay.
So it's a kind of an amalgam
Alright.
of like wood and clay and some
Like dirt,
like
like-
stone and dirt and like
Right.
like moss and things clinging to it. The whole thing definitely has the air of something that is like kind of damp and moldery all the way through, as opposed to like dry and brittle.
All right. So I can't just set it on fire.
Seems unlikely that it would catch particularly easily.
Ooh, all right. Well, what do you want to do, gang? You want
I'm gonna try one more thing. I'm going to attempt to cast message at the hut
Okay.
at Granny Josephine,
You want to do that?
and I'm going to say, some people from the town are here to thank you for your help with the cave-in.
Okay. You similarly do not get a response.
I don't want to go into that water, man. I think it's a bad idea.
You don't have too many options, one way or the other.
I went in there last time and this water
I'm gonna-
a water
think he
snake about
does.
bit me.
I
Well,
say
he did
I'm
bite
gonna.
me.
I'm just
Got
gonna
some
pop
options.
I'm just gonna pop the water breathing potion and just drink it and just walk in the water.
Okay.
Can I fly?
You can.
I can fly?
With my help, you can.
With the power of Bianca and
Via the power
anime.
of song.
I can make you
then-
fly, or I can make you levitate. What do you want? Probably flight.
You can, yeah, I can. I want to fly over there. I don't want to really be in the
Okay.
water right now.
Power of Bianca. I'm going to cast fly on Oz.
Okay.
So you gain a flying speed of 60 feet for the duration. When the
Okay.
spell ends, you fall from wherever you are. So keep that.
So Brahm pulls out the bandor and strikes a chord, and the air like ripples out from the instrument, and as it moves through the air, almost more like a physical pressure than like a sound. The sound you see that it like kicks up this wind around it, and it like vortexes across the ground until it strikes into you, and the wind like wraps around you, and you feel it like cling to your form, and suddenly you are released from the bounds of gravity. You are able to fly. You've never flown before, I don't think, so this
Nope.
is probably a new experience for you.
Yep. You're like, oh, big man, big man in a little sky right now.
I say I can imagine him trying to like T-pose to victory.
Yeah, Oz is just like, you guys can't see this, but Oz just like starts to like just drift up, starts to float away a little.
I'm gonna see if I can hitch a ride with Osrius.
Okay,
Yeah.
you grab onto Osrius.
Don't judge me. I just need to get my bird feet.
That's all right. I am
alrighty.
not judging you. I just figure, you're strong enough to be able to carry me without too much trouble.
Yeah, it's no problem. Let's
Okay, so
get in. Let's get
I'm
on over
going to attempt to swim through the water to see
you
if I
have
can find.
water breathing and are
Yeah.
going in. Two of you fly up, or Oz flies up. Alar is he's like
I
Mary
imagine
Poppins
perching.
if Mary Poppins' umbrella was a 7-foot tall stone man with a great axe.
Yes.
Sort of like dangles. He's dangling off of Oz's leg.
It's the best
Um,
Mary Poppins, okay?
Brom, what are you doing?
I'm waiting to see what happens to Walter.
Okay. So Walter, you it's gonna take you a couple of rounds to get out to the center of the lake there, as you're having to swim. The two of you can much more quickly reach kind of the center of the lake over that house. What is your plan?
I guess I'll try to examine the area underneath and around where the house is,
Okay.
and see if I can see any evidence of either the Naga or Granny Josephine.
Okay. So go ahead and make an investigation roll, and then Oz and Alar, what are you guys doing as you fly up over?
Alar, I can drop right through the roof here. We're not trying to be sneaky about this.
That's a 20 for me.
Okay.
They can't see me, and I can't communicate with them directly. So, if he just wants to Operation Alar drop, then that's totally fine with me.
Yeah, you can.
I think at this point, there's no reason to be sneaky.
Yeah, Oz. Airdrop.
Yeah, because we ain't going anywhere else really outside of this shack. The only other place is the water. So, I'm going to. Well, I guess I wouldn't really have to assess if I can probably crash through the ceiling or not, but that's what I'm going to try.
You just the two of you are just going down, or you're just bombardiering Alar from above.
Well, I don't know if
I think the Stone Goliath makes a much better projectile than just a half elf.
Yeah.
I'm going along for the ride, but
all right. Okay, so Walter, down beneath, you see from below it's just this enormous, dense pad of moss. There's kind of tendrils of it hanging down a little bit beneath, but it appears to be, for all intents and purposes, just free floating in the middle of this lake.
I don't see any evidence of
you don't see, it doesn't look like you don't see any evidence of a battle. There's not you don't see any murkiness of any blood or disturbed silt at the bottom where there's evidence of something recently going down here. All the grass seems to still be kind of in the same condition it was before, just sort of gently flowing with the slight movement of the water. And you kind of see the tip of that statue that is kind of the marker for the chasm that leads down below into whatever is beneath it that the Naga has made its lair in. And up above, Osrius, make an athletics check.
Oh, that's great, because I got a +7 in that.
And that's an 8.
And that's a 13 because I got a 6 plus a 7.
You have a board? Oh no, you used it. Never mind.
No, yeah, but I do have another inspiration. I feel like, but probably.
Alar has inspiration.
Okay, well, never mind that. That's a 13.
Okay, with a 13,
Gonna hurt myself.
The 13.
So you should have rolled with the real dice. We've got a 17 plus 7.
Oh boy, hang on a second. I have to get a physical book out here, huh?
That's not good. It's never good.
Yo, this is the 21st century, sir.
What are you doing reading books and
Alrighty.
This is the real world. We don't use books anymore.
It's book time, baby.
one of the maybe the few moments you get to see on a D&D stream of the DM going through the actual book.
We are an old school D&D stream, classic 5th edition.
We are in the classic sit around the table and wait for the DM to
I
look
have
up
found
a rule.
this thing on. There it is. You said a 13?
Yes.
I know this stat block is online. I've accessed it before through D&D Beyond. I could not find it though, so I had to get out my physical book. So you land on the house for sure. But instead of like crashing in through what for all appearances looks like to be a rickety kind of just moss-eaten slate shingle crummy roof, you land on this thing and it's surprisingly solid as like the two of you crash into it, and it just supports your weight basically. Now you had a fly speed, so you're not falling into it, so I'm not gonna have you take fall damage necessarily.
Okay.
But as soon as you hit the roof of this thing, you land on it, the whole house goes like bobs once, and then all of the like moss and hanging ivy and vines and things that are all over this house immediately like rustle and flutter and shake, and like 100 birds come bursting out of every like nook and cranny of this building. These like black starlings just flying everywhere. They immediately like whip together into this swarm above the house that like fly as in one unison, are making this like cacophonous noise. At this point, I'm gonna need everybody to roll initiative.
Damn. Good thing we didn't step inside the damn house.
Well, if we'd stepped inside the house, I might have had a different trick, but
I got a nice solid 5 for initiative, so...
Ooh, I got a nice... Thank God for the advantage on the initiative. I got a natural 20 plus 3, so 23.
So that's a 10 for me.
19.
So glad I wasted...
Oz landed ready to attack. Like he...
So glad I wasted a nat 20 on an initiative roll.
19, bro?
Yeah.
And Walter, what did you get?
5.
5. Okay.
I'm underwater. I imagine I will probably have felt the ripple of Oz landing on it.
Yeah, I mean, you were like
Oz...
examining it from below, so like you definitely see it go like descend. And then the water, as we established, the water is very clear, so you don't necessarily see Oz and Alar land on it from above because you're like beneath, but you do see it bob, and then you do see the like dark shape of like 100 birds come exploding out of its form, so you know some stuff is going down. Alrighty. And... Alrighty. And one more. Oh, is it 4? Yeah. Alrighty. Osrius, you were going to be the first to react. So you were on the house, and this like swarm of starlings and birds are working themselves into like a cyclone above your head.
Okay. And that's the only thing that's really like that I'm really noticing at that quick moment.
That's the only like activity that seems to be happening is these birds.
All right. Would I assume that Alar is still on me, or is just Alar like on the...
I assume he's like next to you on the roof of the house at this point, as you guys have like whammed down into it.
And one more question, is like being on the roof, like how big is the roof? Could I like easily maybe kind of like slide down and like into the window of the house? Is there a window?
You've
or
got
is
a
it,
good like 10 square feet So like the roof itself is maybe like 15 feet in any given direction, so you can like kind of shuffle 10 feet from like where you are. In terms of like trying to get down into the into a window, you can definitely try and kind of like do a maneuver where you sort of like swing down the side and try and like jackboot your way into the window into the house. It looks dubious to try and like, you're not sure about trying to stand on this bed of moss that the house seems to be resting on.
Okay.
So you would definitely have to make like probably like an athletics check to try and see if you could like bust your way in from the outside.
All right. What to even do since there's so many? How far are the birds above us?
Currently they're maybe 20 feet up.
20 feet up.
Or like the base of this like swarm. Collectively they're like almost like a medium-sized cloud, basically.
Am I still being able to fly, or is that ended now?
You can still fly, yeah.
All right. Well then, Aylar, do you want to get on me while I do this, or do you wish to stay onto the roof?
Ride the magical Goliath.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with you.
Okay.
All right.
Well then, I'm going to rage, and I'm going to swing great axe at a pile of birds.
Alrighty, so Aylar like hops onto your back. He sort of like puts his feet around your waist. He's got one arm across like your chest, so his other arm can like hold his sword. And you fly up, drawing your great axe, and basically just like flying headlong into this cloud of birds. Go ahead and make an attack roll.
All right, and because of that, my storm aura takes effect, and that 10 feet aura affects creatures in that aura, and they take 3 fire damage.
Does it affect creatures of your choice, or does it affect creatures in the area? Because Aylar is on you.
Okay, never mind then.
Okay, so you don't want to rage.
Yeah.
You do want to rage. You don't want to storm aura.
Yeah. No.
Or is it part of these?
I don't have that. I don't.
I'm fairly certain it just goes off when you enter a rage.
Yeah. So it's like you gain a 10 feet aura effect when you start your rage, and as a bonus action. So when I start it, the aura goes off, and then I have the ability to do it with a bonus action.
This is the lightning aura?
No, this is the fire one.
Oh, you're fire. Okay, yeah, no, you're fire.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so it would
right. The fire one is not. Yeah, the fire one is not targeted. The lightning one you can target.
Yes. So the fire one would start immediately. So okay, we're not going to rage then, and we're just going to do straight 2 attacks.
Alrighty, go ahead and roll the hit 2 times.
Okay, so try to roll that one. First one is going to be a 19.
19 will hit.
And the second one is an 18.
18 will also hit. Go ahead and roll some damage.
I love it.
You just like your axe as you swing it. It's like as it just like cuts into a bunch of individual birds as you swing through.
So altogether that will be 28.
Okay.
It's got max damage on that one.
Very nice. All right, so you basically just fly in and you just like do one of these. You just like swing the axe in a circle above your head, just like cutting through birds on the way. You are all momentarily reminded of a very, very weird, giant-sized, living representation of the slap chop that you were all playing with at Walter's house last night, as like dozens and dozens of like chopped bird chunks go like tumbling down below, and you see as they fall away from Osrius and start like smacking onto like the roof of the hut. When they like hit, they like burst into basically just like these like clouds of loose feathers, essentially. Alrighty, Osrius. That anything else?
No.
Okay.
Because I feel like it could still be in the air, and also
Yeah.
Aylar
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Brom, you are up. This is what you have seen. The bird lender has begun, and Walter is somewhere underwater.
Osrius is no longer needing his flight, right?
Osrius is
I believe.
Osrius is actively
I'm
20 feet
currently
in the air inside a
in
cloud
there.
of birds,
Well, Alar is on my back.
and Alar is on his back.
Oh. I thought he was attempting to jump through the house.
No.
Uh,
no.
We
just-
did. It didn't work, and that
Okay.
kicked off the bird swarm.
All right. The
Yeah.
question is, what can I do that doesn't drop?
Concentration.
As long as you don't cast
Concentration.
another concentration spell, it's fine.
Yeah, well, most of my spells are concentration, Jason.
Well, hashtag bard stuff.
All right, I'm gonna cast Blade Ward on myself.
Okay.
Does the cloud of birds look like it's something that, if like shooting an arrow would do anything?
Yeah,
I feel like you could hit something.
you'll hit a bird.
All right, I'm gonna attempt
You
to
could,
shoot
you could hit a bird.
You
I'm
can
gonna
hit two
attempt to
birds with
shoot
one arrow.
a bird.
All right, shoot an arrow. Go ahead, roll the hit.
If you get a nat 20, then you probably shoot 2 birds.
Why is he doing? All right, manually. Well, I rolled better than the D&D Beyond, so I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
That's gonna be a 21 to hit.
21 to hit, as this man just gave himself advantage, but that's fine.
No, I rolled,
I know,
I
it's
rolled
fine.
50 before D&D Beyond loaded.
Yeah, so that will definitely hit.
Let's say we're all looking at that roll counter there, and it says you got a 10, buddy. You said you got a
Clicked
20.
it, and it took like 40 seconds, and then I physically rolled. So. Why is it being so slow tonight? All right, like I've clicked it. I've clicked the damage. I'm waiting for it to roll.
D&D Beyond's like, hold on, I'm playing D&D.
Yeah,
Hold on, calculating. I'm
like
calculating.
I've clicked it. It is still not rolled.
Jesus, D&D
Okay.
Beyond
All
is
right,
a lovely
just roll
service, and I hope they
just
sponsor
roll your-
us.
just roll your damn.
With their dice roller
As soon as
is
I roll the manual dice, it's gonna
hot garbage.
It normally
Did try
does, but
D&D
yeah.
Beyond. Also, hashtag sponsor us.
Yeah. I'll still listen. I'll shill your fake dice.
Yeah,
So-
I do want to try. This is a good time to say I do want to try their beta.
That's 9 points of damage.
9? Okay.
I do want to try their beta combat tracker. That'd be actually fun.
I've actually been using that. Not the combat tracker, but the encounter builder thing. I've been using that for quite a while.
Cool.
Anyway, Brom, you fire an arrow. It shoots into the cloud of birds. They sort of like warp almost around it, as like all these birds almost like react at once, basically in unison. As the arrow like goes through, you see they sort of like form this tunnel that the arrow like passes through. But it definitely like skewers a couple of these little starlings, and you see a few of them come like whirling out the bottom, pierce through with an arrow. They hit the roof of the house, and they likewise burst into just feathers. And then it is going to be the swarm's turn, as you guys watch this entire mass of birds like in unison, all like rapidly change directions. Brom, you're probably the only one really with like the perspective to be able to see this, as Walter is down below and the other two are inside it. But this swarm like swirls, and you would swear that the dense mass of birds for a brief moment forms like almost the contours and curvature of like a face. You see like kind of almost like the impression of like a nose and like the brow ridge where there would be like eyes, and it sort of like makes this visage which very quickly like as if assessing something in the vicinity, and then they split into several individual like almost tendrils of like dive bombing birds that just swoop into Alar and Osrius respectively. So both of you guys are going to take 2 attacks Osrius. That is a 15 is the higher
That's a
of the two.
miss.
Okay, so that's the higher of the two. They both miss. So these birds, you just feel these birds like just like pelting their bodies into you basically, and you feel like some sharp beaks sort of like pick at you, but nothing really does a ton of damage. Alar, against you, that is actually a pair of it's a pair of 17s.
Okay, both hit.
Alrighty, so Alar, you are going to take 16 points of piercing damage.
Okay. That hurts a bit.
Alrighty, so that is the swarm's turn. They continue to vortex around you guys. Okay. Walter, from underwater, you see from where you know that opening to be to the jagged crevasse that leads down beneath, you all of a sudden see all these bubbles start erupting from that opening. But that's going to bring us to Alar.
Yep, guess I'm jabbing away at some birds.
Do it.
That's a 17.
17 does hit, yes.
And a whole whopping 8 points of piercing damage.
Alrighty, 8 more points. Alright, you swing your rapier wildly and you clip a bunch of birds. It's tumble away. Between Osrius's blender attack and both you and Brahm at this point, you guys have definitely noticeably reduced the number of birds in this swarm at this point. But there are still quite a few of them. Anything else? Make a you know what? Make a I'd also like you to make an athletics check to hang on to Osrius as you're doing all of this.
That's a 9.
A 9. You, as you swing your rapier, you kind of slip part of the way. You don't quite fall off of Osrius, but you have you're kind of now on you have one arm kind of hooked through his belt, and one of your legs is hanging off. You lose some purchase on your Goliath mount.
Okay.
Alrighty. Okay, Walter.
All right. You said I saw a bunch of bubbles. There's possibly something coming up.
There's a bunch of bubbles rapidly.
I'm going to cast Sickening Radiance centered on the statue.
Okay.
So that's a 30-foot radius sphere centered on that point.
Okay.
So that should be enough to cover it's concentration.
Okay,
it should cover the entrance in a bubble of get effed.
Okay, cool.
And then I'm gonna swim up to the top, swim up to the surface.
Alrighty.
See what's going on up top there.
So you break surface. You see Osrius with Alar dangling one armed off of him. Both of them just swinging weapons at these birds that are dive bombing them from all directions. Brahm is over on the bank. You see knocking another arrow, and that will bring us back to the top of the order with Oz.
Okay. Let's see. Could pull Alar back up with an action.
Don't worry about me.
Don't worry about it. You
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
if I take a tumble, I take a tumble. With any luck, I can aim for the water.
Okay. Then I'm going to see. Okay. Then I'm going to attack twice. Then
Okay.
again, it's best I can do. All right. First one will be. Ooh, that was probably a miss. First one is 12.
12 does hit. Yes.
Oh shoot. Okay.
12
that's
12 hits
nat-
exactly.
That's a nat 1 on that. On the
You
second
notice on the
one.
other one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So you will hit once. You will miss on the other one as you swing wildly. Alar is like, as you swing your axe, Alar is like swinging from side to side.
That's 11 damage.
All righty. 11 damage to the swarm. Cool. All righty. Cool. All right. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Brom.
How far away is the cloud of birds from
If
where I
you are
am?
on the shore, they're like 75 feet from you.
Perfect. I am going to cast Dispel Magic.
Okay.
Ooh.
Any spell of 3rd level or lower just ends. Anything of 4th or higher, I have to make a roll for.
Okay.
And that is not a concentration spell, so they're still flying.
Ooh,
Go
nice.
ahead and make a roll.
God damn it.
How do I roll this? Spellcasting ability. So I add that plus whatever my spell modifier.
It'll be
Let's
D20 plus your
Modifier.
modifier.
Can I? Does the add your proficiency bonus thing that I got from chat count on this?
I believe you're just able to use that to add your proficiency bonus to something if you want to.
Yeah, normally Dispel Magic is just D20 plus your thing. You're not
Okay, so
proficient.
that's a 17.
A 17. Okay, so you fire off this like pulse of anti-magic to dispel this this effect, and it like slams into this swarm of birds. And two things happen. One, fully like a quarter of this like cloud of birds that you hit with this spell just like dust into feathers and like falls down. The other thing that happens is what level is Fly?
Let's see. It is, well, I don't know because it doesn't take a, like, it's not, I don't cast it via
it
one
has
of
a
my
spell
spell
level.
levels. Let me see. Fly is a 3rd level spell.
Okay. Never mind. Based on the way Dispel Magic works, it's not an area. It's just a, like, you targeted a thing, so you hit the birds with it. So your fly spell is
That's
not
what I was gonna
dispelled.
say. That's what I thought.
The birds, like a chunk of those birds where you would hit like, poof, are instantly just like vaporize into feathers and flutter away. Still leaving some of them, but like a large piece of the group is taken out. Which brings us to the birds. So Oz and Alar, you guys actually no, just one attack. Osrius, you are gonna get attacked for 18 to hit.
Yeah, I'm 18, so it hits.
Alrighty. That's only gonna be 4 damage though, 4 piercing damage.
Okay, that's not bad. I'll take it.
Okay, that's all the birds do. Walter, go ahead and roll damage for your creepy.
So they have to make a save, a DC 14 save.
Gotcha. The save is
it's a DC 14 Constitution saving throw.
DC. Yeah, they handily make that save.
Okay. So nothing.
Half. Nothing. Okay. You see, all of you see.
Yeah.
Go ahead. All of you see.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure nothing happens.
From beneath the water. Aylar, or Walter, you surface. The other two of you are kind of in the air. You guys see those like bubbles had started to surface, and all of you see this like shape rockets out from beneath the waving grass, creating like this like cone of displaced water around it, and bursts skyward, leveling off about even with where Osrius and Aylar are. And you guys see the hunched form of Granny Josephine sitting on this long, gnarled, like gray piece of like wood that's been like etched into like a staff shape. She's like sitting side saddle on it. And she looks at all of you guys as she like bursts out of the water, and she goes, "Oh my. You know it's rude to intrude in someone's home when they're not around. I'm afraid I'll have to teach you a lesson." And as she says this, she stands up on that staff, and she has like all those like bundles of like shawls and robes and stuff that she's wearing. She reaches up and like rips these like shawls away, and she's like so jacked. She's like
Oh no.
she like straightens up standing on this staff. She's like almost as tall as Osrius when she like straightens to this full height, and she's fucking ripped. She has like huge muscles. And she goes "It's time to play." And that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
So Granny does not skip leg day.
Granny does not skip leg day.
Oh boy.
Or any day.
What kind of roided out grandmother have you guys been
She
feeding
is
these
the
entire
most
generations?
ripped granny you have ever encountered in your life. And Osrius, you're a Goliath, so you probably have met some pretty ripped grannies before.
I like this one.
She is stacked. And she does not look like she's messing around. So that is where we will stay in initiative next week. Or 2 weeks from now, I guess. Next week we'll be back with the crew of the Grimm's Folly for our other half of the Delve Requisite campaign. 2 weeks from now we'll be back to see the exciting conclusion of fighting there's different types of hags. There's like sea hags, green hags, night hags. I like to think of this as a protein hag. So, thank you for sticking with us tonight, everybody. Thank you again to our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle. I want to thank you, as always, to my players for being here and putting up with all of this. And yeah, please be sure to like, subscribe, follow us everywhere that you can possibly do so that you get updated with all of our both Delve Requisites content and all of the other content that Proficiency Bonus is putting out, both D&D and otherwise. We appreciate everybody who was with us in chat tonight. As usual, tons of people giving those coin donations for things. Adds a ton of fun to the game. And we will see you next time. So as we sign off here, I will leave you with this. Remember, if you are going to plant a mystery seed that you bought from a bonkers artificer in a magical city, if you're going to give that to your traveling companion's 12-year-old daughter, maybe make sure she plants it a little further away from the house. And don't forget to add your proficiency bonus. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.